Hi there. So the last few days I've been playing with ChatGPT a lot, trying to figure out how to use it to produce more content, better content, etc. for my website without compromising any of the quality or integrity or research foundation of the content. So today I'm going to share with you what I've been looking at, and you can learn along with me about how to create better content with ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm gonna pop you into my Chat GPT prompt that I'm working on. I just wrote this up in a Google Doc, and based on the writing I've been doing lately, these are the types of things I usually need to ask it to do. I've kind of been playing around and just doing it ad lib and being like, hey, I need a little more of this, a little more of that. But now I've put it all together into one single prompt that can hopefully churn out an article that's exactly like what I want. So as you can see here, I ask it for a particular word length, SEI optimized article on a particular topic, in a particular tone for a particular audience, focus on some part of that, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. Whether I want it to explore, certain things in more depth, it really needs, if you just give it like a standard write an article on self-care, let's say, it needs a lot more detail about what to focus on, or else it's like really bland and terrible. So, and then I have a section here where you can include the following examples from my real life, or maybe like a case study or an experiment or something else that's relatable and provides more detail about the topic and how it's actually applied in a real life situation. And then after that, I just have all these different details about what we need. We need a title, we need a description, we need keywords, all that good stuff. And once it churns out, we'll look at each of these sections individually. So what I've done is I've replaced all of these purple segments with what I want for this particular article. And so this is an article I actually need for one of my actual websites. So we're recording this video for something I'm going to actually use, hopefully, if it works. And so I wanted an article on integral theory, which is a theory related to psychological development and spiritual growth, and it integrates all these different things, and it's really complex. And so it's nice to have AI support in writing something like this. I think that my audience for this particular article will be a spiritual seeker, or maybe just somebody who's curious about integral theory. I also want it to focus on a particular aspect of the theory, and so I tell it that here. And then I want it to explore both the psychological approach and the spiritual approach because I think that dual perspective will be interesting. And then, oops, I forgot to include any real life examples. I'm going to remove that one for this article because I can't think of anything at the moment. And then all this other stuff should just churn out the article in the format that I want. So let's try it together. Just copy this, pop into a new chat in ChatGPT, and paste. Go. So it's done exactly what I've told it to do. It's given me 3 different titles to choose from. I found in the past that the first title it suggests I generally don't like, so it's nice to get 3 different ideas, and usually I'll end up merging them together into something that I like, but it's great to have these different suggestions. So integral theory, Ken Wilber's stages of growth. Yeah, that's good. They're good. And then the meta description, discover Ken Wilber's integral theory and its stages of development, bridging psychological and spiritual growth for a holistic life journey. Yeah, I think that's totally fine as it is. These keywords are probably a little bit too broad, actually. So like I already have an article on Ken Wilber and on actually, I think maybe I have all of these. And so you never want to include the same keyword in multiple articles because then it just confuses Google. And then it's like, which one am I supposed to send people to? So I would probably ask it to focus on keywords related to integral theory, maybe asking it to do long tail keywords. And I'm actually going to make a note real quick in my prompt. Make a note. Add long tail keywords instead. And then I'll integrate that to my next prompt so that the next time I do this, it's even better. All right, let's take a look at the article. So I've asked it to do like kind of chunky sections, each with an H2 heading, and then I think 150 characters of content, because sometimes it'll just churn out like a couple of sentences, and I just find that that's totally not useful and repetitive. So let's just look at it. Yeah. So I would go through this and make sure that every little bit of this is correct. ChatGPT will make things up. So for example, like sometimes when it's talking about a person, it'll be like they're born in such and such state, and that's not true, or they created this theory, and that's not true. I know for a fact that this is his theory, so that's fine. But you want to be sure when you do this, you basically have this like really good, solid, rough draft, but then you are the fact checker and the editor and the one that makes it come alive. And so you still have to do all of that. Okay, and I've asked it to start the first section with the what is and then the keyword term. And this is really good for SEO because then it's clear that the article is specifically about that topic before you go into other headers that don't necessarily have the keyword in them. Okay, so it's gotten some of these names wrong, actually. These stages are not called that. So those are some things I'd have to go in and fix. Yeah, but that's a good start. So that's how you use a prompt in ChatGPT to make a really great SEO article. And then what I've also done and included in my prompt is the request for recommended affiliate products to recommend in this article. So everything I do it because I love it. I love writing about this stuff, but I need to also make a living and figure out a way to make money doing what I love. So here I've asked it to recommend affiliate products or things that I can promote for people who are reading this article, things that they would be interested in. And it says here, Integral Life membership. And then I've asked it to include a link. I don't know if that's real. I'm going to look it up. Yeah, I don't think they have an affiliate program. I'm pretty certain I would have heard about that. So let's actually Google Integral Life affiliate. They do. Wow. Okay. Thank you. So if I want to promote their programs related to this theory, then I would apply for this affiliate account. May or may not get accepted, but who knows? Even easier would be these other ones. So, A Theory of Everything by Ken Wilber. This is one of his books. I always include affiliate links to books for sale on Amazon in all of my articles because it's a really easy way to just be like, oh, you liked this? Read his whole book. And then you get like a few cents or whatever if they buy it. And then this is another one of his books. So I would include all of his books. So that way we've learned, how we basically have gotten this fully created article that is a tool for making money. So great. And then because this article will include an image, I've asked it to create an image prompt. Now, ChatGPT, as far as I know, I've asked it to create images. It doesn't really seem very good at that. I'm not even going to read this prompt. Let's just see if it works. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open up Google Gemini because Google Gemini makes really good images and just paste it in there. See if it comes up with a good image for our article. Mm. All right, well, this is fine. My website uses only photorealistic images, so make it photorealistic. Anyway, I'll shift the prompt so that I don't have to keep doing this, keep editing every time I create something new so that it'll just create what I need. But for now, make it photorealistic. I'll come back and do that later. And then I've also asked it to create a YouTube video title because I turn all of my articles into YouTube videos, or ideally I turn all of them into YouTube videos. I slack on that sometimes. And that's a fine title. So that's how you create an SEO optimized article in 5 minutes or whatever this was. All right, see you next time.